सगळे तुमकां आमचे CCR TV पळयणाऱ्यांक माय मोगाचो येवकार. Welcome to our new program, a new series that CCR TV is launching today, and the name of the series is It Pays to Know Your MLA. It is the program about our new MLAs who have been elected at the 8th Legislative Assembly in Goa. And to start the program, to understand what is the exact role of the MLA in the Assembly, we don't have an MLA who is elected, but we have got a distinguished personality in the field of law, so that we understand the nuances of what it means to be a member of Legislative Assembly. It's totally mostly to deal with the law, and therefore we have engaged one of our Goa's top legal luminaries who has been in the profession, who has been in the law, especially in civil matters, civil law, and specialization in constitutional matters for over 35 years. So you can understand the background why we have invited a lawyer, so that we understand the nuances, what it means exactly to be an MLA, what are the roles, responsibilities, and the duties of the MLA. And he has been a professor of one of the topmost colleges, law colleges in Goa, in Margao, for more than 30 years. A very, very distinguished career in law, I must say. He hails from Asolna, and during his younger days, he was a student activist. He was also the former vice president of the High Court Bar Association and ex-president of the South Goa Advocate Association. It's my proud privilege to welcome one and only one, Advocate Cleofato Almeida Coutinho. Welcome, Doctor. It's nice to have you with us, because very often people approach the MLAs with requests like fix this road, have these street lights installed, get local issues sorted out, and they think that the MLA is responsible for resolving basic civic concerns like waste management, sewage treatment, construction of roads, supply of water, and so on and so forth. But the basic responsibility is not what I have shared with you, because we have got the 74th Constitutional Amendment, where all the issues that I have related now are the duties of the municipalities and panchayats. Dr. Cleofato, let us start with what are the basic responsibilities of an MLA?
See, the responsibility of an MLA has not yet been clearly defined in the Constitution. But we know that their job is law making. Their job would be policy formulation. Another important job would be to hold the government accountable. Now, this would apply to members of opposition and members of the ruling party also who are not in the government. Now, and the third and the most important part also is to ask important questions, raise matters of public importance in the House. Now, for that, they will have to do lot of homework. Now, take an immediate situation. The last year, we had a utter failure of COVID management in our state. We had something called oxygen deaths. We had deaths because the oxygen cylinders could not reach the bed. How many times has this issue been raised in the House? Now, I would say it is issues like this which must be raised by MLAs so that the governments are accountable. Normally, laws are made by the government, but at the same time, members of the legislature has responsibility in making laws. In case the government is not coming up with important laws, they can bring private members' bills before the House. They can bring up issues before the House. Even if a private member's bill does not become the law, that issue would be red flagged. So, but I would say somehow our MLAs are failing in holding the government responsible.
I fully endorse what you are saying. You have rightly given an example of COVID, right example. The new sports minister, Mr. Govind Gowde, says we are not prepared at all to host the national games, whereas the previous sports minister, he says tomorrow we can hold the national games. And even the chief minister says, yes, at any time we are ready. I would concur with what you have said. This matter of readiness was not ascertained by any member of the Legislative Assembly. And it is such a matter of public importance that all of them have been sleeping when exactly they need to enact laws, ratify public expenditure, and hold government accountable. It's a shame that no MLA has fulfilled their basic role, Dr.
See, I will go a bit further. Sometime back, and during the last elections in the last leg of the last house, we had an issue where jobs were almost on sale.
They were sold.
They were sold. We have issues where jobs of MTS, multitasking staff, nurses, security staff coming from one constituency. We were grappling with the idea of people from that constituency, from where the ministers come, getting the jobs.
I'm sorry to interrupt you on this, but let me share with you what I heard yesterday. Somebody from a very close to these constituencies, he says, look, the chief minister almost made it to the new assembly. Whereas his friend close by, the Ranes, look at their margin in both their constituencies, and he tells me, you know how Mr. Rane got elected? He gave the jobs to everybody from his place, and he says even in one family, 4 or 5 people have been given jobs.
This has happened simply because our MLAs have failed in getting the subordinate staff selection commission implemented. The Goa Assembly has passed a law on appointment of subordinate staff in much the same way as the GPSC appoints the senior staff. The subordinate staff must also get appointed through a commission. That commission is not functional. Even number of posts which the GPSC must appoint are coming out of the GPSC. Why are MLAs not raising an issue over this? The point is they also have to do lot of homework in the matter. Like we will find at every level we talk of corruption. In Karnataka, a road contractor committed suicide and blamed a minister saying that he is demanding 40% cutoff. Now in our state, for the past so many years, we are talking of 10%, 20%, 30%. In fact, the TTAG placed on the house a letter saying that the commission in the ministry is 30%. Now, why has issues like this not been taken up? I am saying financial responsibility and holding the government accountable on finances is their prime responsibility.
But all of them, including the opposition, they have been sleeping.
Correct. The problem is they all believe that they have to nurse their constituencies. They have to nurse their constituencies, and for that they have to approach the minister. Why be in bad books of that minister? So I feel, I am of the opinion that they don't do homework. One, they do not want to displease the government, and for that they are trying to take away the responsibility from law and policy formulation and holding the government responsible to issues like minor civic nature. So they are now trying to have some sort of a people contact, constituency contact to overcome their failure in their primary responsibilities as MLAs. I have nothing against MLAs or people representatives having a direct contact with the people. In fact, it is very good, no problem. But they should also have their primary role as critics of the government. There is nothing wrong in having healthy criticism. The ministers who are responsible for the mess they create must be held accountable. They should be exposed in the assembly. But for that, they have to do proper homework.
I recall at this moment when you have said this part, if Manohar Parrikar,
Correct?
if he rose in the eyes of the public,
Absolutely.
it is exactly because what you have said.
He caught the attention of the people by performing role as a leader of opposition. So he was a shining example of what a opposition leader ought to be.
And he did that. You have said that the MLAs have got legislative powers, they have got financial powers, they have executive powers, and they have also electoral powers.
Correct.
And you refer to this case of Karnataka, where somebody committed a suicide. And now people say there is also a peculiar problem there where they have political pollution. Now let me explain to you this new term, political pollution. This has happened in Goa with the 10 Congress MLAs when they switched over. This has happened in Karnataka. This has happened in Madhya Pradesh. And they say the pollution amount in Karnataka was 50 crores. In Madhya Pradesh was 40 crores. In Goa, nobody knows. But then people say 10 crores. So if this is what is there for them, why do you think they should be thinking of the laws?
Yeah. The problem also is, in Goa, we have a peculiar situation. And the peculiar situation is the party system is collapsing. The parties are unable to get votes for their candidates as against the persons. Now you will find in the last elections also, the ruling party went hunting for people from the other side who are seen as winners. The opposition parties went hunting for people from other parties who they considered as winners. So basically, parties have lost faith in themselves. And these constituency satraps, these regional satraps, try to create a situation by giving some jobs, by having a road to his doorstep, by tarring roads, internal roads of housing societies. Now you tell me, why for our middle class and upper middle class families who reside in housing colonies, why should their internal roads be tarred by MLA? Because finally that MLA is getting it done from a contractor, and the contractor is getting it done through funds meant for public road. So basically we will find even our people are not acting in a manner that is fair, and this situation continues. But the fact of the matter is, after the 73rd and 74th amendments, issues like road, sewage, which you pointed out, all civic nature services ought to have gone to panchayats, municipalities, and now in Goa, we have Zilla panchayats also. Now, if all the jobs of roads, bridges, schools, health centers are done by the MLAs, what role will they perform? Now, you see in villages, all that the Panchayat now does is look after house tax and give housing licenses. And those housing licenses also are as per the approvals of the Town and Country Planning Department. So the Panchayats are becoming some sort of clearance houses. So I am saying that Panchayats are doing very little work of what they are supposed to do. The Zilla Panchayats are doing no work. And the municipalities also, they are chipped from their work by the MLAs. But this is also happening because the powers and finances are not going down to these bodies. If power and finances do not go down to these institutions, then of course they will remain with the government, and the MLAs will have to depend to get them through the ministers. So that is where the whole dependence on the ministers, because the entire budget remains with the minister, and then the MLAs find that we have to go to the minister to get our jobs done.
Yeah,
But at the same time, the MLAs are not demanding that this money go to the panchayats, that this money go to the municipalities. They are also not demanding. I would say it is their job in formulation of policy whereby money goes down to these institutions.
but they don't do this.
They don't
job.
do it because they are quite happy with the money remaining with the ministers, because they can get it done by sort of lobbying with the minister and by not being in inimical terms with the minister. So these MLAs do not want to be in bad books with the minister.
Now, for all this to happen, and this is happening, the people are also responsible, because when the time for elections come, there is no assessment done from those who have been there in the government. There is no annual reports.
Correct, but the assessment is not done of his functioning as an MLA.
Yes.
The assessment is done of his connect with the people. How many jobs he has given, how many roads he has tarred, how many roads in the housing colonies he has got tarred with through the contractor. You know, all this type of personal benefits play a big role in getting elected, besides the distribution of money.
Yeah, that's the reason why I say people are
Are
all
also
equally
responsible.
responsible. Because even today one MLA says, my job is to see that people from my constituency get the job.
See, in fact, some of the MLAs now want to run a state in their constituency. See, they will have so many harvesting machines, they will have so many weeding machines. So almost a job which should be done by the agriculture department is done by MLAs in their constituencies. Now, I don't understand why should it be constituency centric. It is their job to see that the agriculture department, the social welfare department, the urban development, the municipal administration, all these departments perform their jobs in all the areas. Why should it be that a state is being run by an MLA in his constituency?
So here the critical question is, if people don't ask relevant questions, people also don't know what is their roles and their duty of the MLA.
No, correct. That is right. See, I can understand prior to the 73rd and 74th Amendment, it could be said that the minister is also responsible for development of constituencies. And I don't mean to say that the MLAs have no role. See, of course they have a role. See, when it comes to big budget projects, when it comes to big services, they should certainly raise questions in the House, extract proper assurances from the ministries and see that those issues are highlighted. But actually making of a road, actually tarring of a road, inaugurating tarring of roads, I don't think they should go to such micro civic levels. This is not their job.
What we have seen in all this time, that they do not ask relevant questions regarding the critical areas. Neither they present petitions, resolutions or private members' bill.
Correct. I will tell you, in the 2 days when the House was now in session, the governor spoke. And if you look at governor's speech, look at the way Chief Minister spoke. The highlight of the governor's speech has been tourism. The Chief Minister has been speaking outside before the government on tourism. The tourism minister is speaking about something called quality tourists coming into the state. How many of our MLAs, both from the ruling and opposition, question the government over what does this mean? What exactly do you want? Instead of raising such macro and big issues on policy, most of our MLAs have been talking about issues like, now rains are coming, this particular wall has to be built, those particular houses have to be constructed, some monsoon related works have to be done before the onset of monsoons. Why should these works wait for our MLAs to highlight them? They should be done at levels by institutions which are meant to do it.
This demands a lot of research. That's
Yes.
what Parikar used to do.
Correct.
Lot of research.
Yes.
And then ask relevant questions.
Yes.
So for which you have to do a lot of homework.
You see, it is not only a lot of homework, but lot of research is required in raising such questions. See, I will be very frank. Vijay Sardesai did it for a period of 2 years in the last session. I remember as a child, as a college going student, Uday Bemre did a good job.
Yes, during his days. Yes.
Radharao Gracias did a fairly good job. Then Kashnath Zalmi did a good job. I will be failing in my duty if I don't make a mention of Babu Naik from Margaon. Now these MLAs, they were in the opposition. Zalmi was in the ruling for some time. They did good job in holding the government responsible. I think that is the job. That their job is not to get works done by being in good books with the ministers. See, that job has to be done. And if it is not getting done, highlight it in the House. Make it as an issue in the House that your constituency is being left out. That the amount of money that is left in your constituency is less. See, these things should be highlighted in the House rather than trying to be in good books with the minister.
That's what all of them
Yes,
seem
absolutely.
to be wanting.
Absolutely.
Now we have this Mormugaon Port Authority.
Yeah.
They have become a super state within this state. Now, this state assembly can also exercise all powers on all matters which the parliament cannot legislate. Now, the MLAs can exercise these legislative powers on the state list as well as some of the concurrent lists. Do you think there is some scope now for these new MLAs to look into this aspect where Mormugaon Port Authority will have all the power within themselves?
See, wherever possible within the state list, whatever is possible, they may do. But my opinion on that matter is our MPs rather, failed to red flag that issue when it was discussed in Parliament. According to me, this was for them to discuss in Parliament at the time the bill was moved.
Nobody raised.
According to me, see what happens is when bills are brought before the House, they don't even know what bills are brought before the House. There is hardly any discussion on any of the bills. And at most of the times, the bills are brought before the House and passed. And that is also because nobody is prepared to question the government. And nobody is prepared to say, I want to talk on this bill, because they have never read the bills. See, to read the bills and find out the implication on the bills, they must also do little homework.
Lot of homework.
Lot of homework must be done. And this is a continuous process.
It is.
It is a continuous process. It is not that during the days when the House is in session, you will raise questions. See, we in Goa are talking about governments being corrupt. We in Goa are talking about corruptions rising with every new government. One government is worse than the other. But this discussion is all amongst us in social media. This discussion is there to some extent in the newspapers. But is this discussion there in the House? Why is this discussion on not being held at a time the budget discussion is held? See the worth of the roads that are built, the roads on Atal Setu, the roads that are caving in so many times. Why is these issues not becoming a subject of discussion in the House? See, that is the only because everybody wants to be somehow in good books with the government.
Yes.
And the answer is simple, that I want to develop my constituency. And in the last election in particular, everybody talks of my constituency, my people. I want to get elected the next time. As though to say that if you don't look after micro civic issues, your connect with the people goes, and if your connect with the people goes, you may not get elected again. So the whole circle is to get elected again. And to get elected again, I have to remain connected with the people. To get connected again, I have to look after some roads, some bridge, some school, some health departments, somebody's illegal construction, somebody at the police station. This is all that is done for connecting with the people. But nobody is saying that I will see to it that systems are put in place. I will see to it that policies are in place. Why should I go to the police station to get somebody released? Why should an MLA go to the departments to get favors done? They should be done on the merit of those cases.
Yes.
But the systems are not in place, and the systems are not in place because those failures are not being highlighted in the House.
And all the MLAs, for that matter, they fail to raise questions like you have got star cash question, unstarred question. They have not introduced the bills. They have not also raised matters of public importance. And also, they must see that the executive does their job responsibly in a transparent, impartial manner. So, like what you said, they want to be goody-goody with everybody.
Yes,
it does not work.
See, see, in fact, they have something called a 0 hour.
Yes.
Where questions can be raised. You have rightly said that start question, unstarred question. There is a calling attention motion,
yes,
which they can raise, where issues of public importance can be discussed. See, and sometimes what happens is, calling attention motions are not allowed by the speaker. Your private members' bills do not see the light of the day. But at the end of the day, certain issues get highlighted. Certain schemes get highlighted. And it is that, according to me, that the MLA should do. See that a proper system is in place, proper policy is there on every matter. I would say, even at the cost of being slightly not popular with the ministers, if you have to do something for the good of Goa, do it.
I think elections are over, they are there already. But people now must engage with all our elected representatives and demand accountability and also performance. And they must evaluate the MLAs on law-making abilities, availability in the constituency, and solving not only constituency problems, but problems of the state, like you said, employment generation for the state, not for a particular constituency.
Correct. Not only employment generation, but I would say that jobs must go to all Goans and all Indians on merit.
Pure merit.
Pure merit. It cannot be that they should go to a particular constituency, and whether it is senior jobs or junior scale jobs or subordinate jobs, all must go through the fire of a commission. The commission must be neutral. And one of the biggest responsibility of our MLAs in the current house, according to me, is to see that the staff selection commission functions properly.
It is left to the MLAs now to do and deliver. And I must thank you for your throwing light on so many issues. I hope that people who are listening, you will be awakened and you will start now engaging with all your elected representatives. Dr. Cleofato, would you like to send a final message as we conclude this?
Yes, the final message is that all MLAs who are not ministers, both in the ruling party and the opposition, must function as watchdogs. Their job is to see that we get good jobs and jobs for all. Their job is also to see that we get good laws and hold the government responsible, hold the government accountable at every step, expose them in the house.
I think on that high note, we conclude this first launch of this episode. I'm grateful for your comments and you have expressed everything, I must say. Dev Baring Karo,
Thank you.
Dr.
Thank you.
Cleofato.
Dev Baring Karu. Dev Baring Karu.